Okay, Bruchim Abayim, special Chabura of Kol HaTorah Kula going through with the Rambam in our lead. And we are holding Perek Zayin of Hilchis, Avodas Kochavin, and the rituals, Chukas HaGoyim. And today we're going to learn at what point the Avodah Zarah takes on the Isra of Avodah Zarah, which means the object of the idol, at what point it becomes Asr. There's the process to make the idol, and we'll see there's a difference between a Yid and a Goy. A Yid that made Avodah Zarah and a Goy that made Avodah Zarah. So let's take it away. Come. Good. Okay. Zakir Amamalocha Aleph. Mitzvah say it's a positive command la'abed avodas kochavim shamsha, to destroy and obliterate avodas kochavim, idol worship, shamsha, and anything that serves the Avodah Zarah. V'chol nasa b'shvil, and anything was made in intention for Avodah Zarah. Shenemar abe to abdon, all its accessories. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, abe to abdon as kol hamekoyimos, all the places. V'nemar im koi tasu lahem is b'choseim titoitzun. So all the places and their altars, which means all the accessories. Uberetz Yisrael. Now this is if it's simple, but be'etzem it's not your responsibility to make sure the guy doesn't either have, unless it's an Eretz Yisrael. Zakter Rambam, Uberetz Yisrael. Mitzvah lirdev achareh, to chase it down. Ad shenabedes mikol artzenu, till at that point it's obliterated. It does not exist in our land. Aval b'chutz la'aretz ein mitzvah lirdev achareh. It's not our responsibility to l'sharish, to uproot it. El kol makom shenich b'shoisei. When someone conquers a specific area in chutz la'aretz, if you didn't have a certain mamlacha, or if you bought a house and the like, then all that's there to destroy it. Shenema, as the pasuk says, you should destroy its name from that place. Now, be'eretz Yisrael, why? Because hamakam ahu, that's an Eretz Yisrael. However, outside of Eretz Yisrael in the diaspora, it is not our responsibility to chase it down and check in our neighbors' houses. Do they have it? Now, halacha base. And now we're going to zero into not the idol itself, rather its accessories, or as we'll see, tikroibes and lashon hakrava, things that they prepare to serve it, food and the like. Halacha base. Avodas kochavim shamsha. The idols themselves, shamsha, and what serves its accessories, its clothing, its garments, its vessels, etc. And anything that was planned to that they brought before it. And they made specific things, the ornaments that serve it or should beautify it. Also, they are all also to derive any benefit and enjoyment from. As the pasuk says, do not bring an abomination, a despised thing by the Eibishter to your home. And if you not only acquired or brought it into your possession, you also enjoyed it, you get malchus, a double malchus for transgressing two lavim. Achas mishum b'lo savi, one for not bringing it in. V'achas mishum lo yidbak v'yadcha me'um min acherim. None of it should even stick to your hand, which means you shouldn't have any benefit from it. Halacha gimel. Now, behema shikrivu kul avodas kochavim. If they took this entire behema and they dedicated it for idol worship or the idol, asur b'ana, right away it is asur b'ana'a, as opposed to the as opposed to the idol itself, that we'll see that it only becomes asur at a later point if a yid made it. Tikroivus becomes asur right away, and the second stringency of tikroivus, which may seem more lenient, is that even something that you can't really derive any enjoyment from. Afilu pirsha batzmaisel, it's shmutz, it's dung, it's bones that you can't really eat. The karneh, its horns, its lofa, its hooves, the oira and its skin, its hide. Hakol also bana lafichach. Therefore, imhaya ba'oir simon. Let's say a person finds he's buying a whole bunch of cloth. In those days, they only wrote on cloth. The bark of a tree came, I think, later. But they're writing scrolls. And a person buys a hide, and lo and behold, he finds around the heart a cut-out circle, which was the way they would take out the heart, as the Rambam is going to describe. You know that this was served before the Avodas Kochavim, this behema. For example, can show you oisim, the way if they would shekorim kera agel connect the lady, they would make a round hole in front of the heart, and over there taking out the heart before skinning the whole animal. Hare kol oisim oider saying kach. If you find hides that look this way, asur banov. Chen kol kaitzim, anything similar to this. Halacha dalet. And now we're going to look at the differences between a Yiddish getchka, like there, a Yid made, maybe made it for someone else, or a goy that made a getchka. And we'll see that it started first with the Tekrevis, because in this regard, they're both equal. We'll see there's a difference, as Levi so eloquently put on the cover page. Between a goyisha idol made to an idol made by Yid. If a guy made it, asura bana miyad. As soon as it's finished, it's asura bana. Shenema, it says, that the carven or graven images should be burnt in fire. So the Gemara learns, the second he finished sculpturing it and carving it, it becomes a deity. And right away, you have to burn it. However, it's not prohibited to derive any enjoyment from it, the Isra, until it is served. Obviously, it's also to make it. We already discussed there's an Isra to make Avodas Kochavim. It's a lav, but it's not Asr Ba'no. The lav of L'sas L'cha. Where do we know that only once it's served? Now, the pasuk says "V'sam basaser," that he placed it in hiding. So the Chazal learned until he actually does those things that are done in concealment, which is obviously serving Avodah Zarah, because if his life is dear to him, you don't do that publicly, and you shouldn't do it in private either. But that's the way the Torah refers to it. And b'meila b'sam basasa, then it becomes also she'ein avodas masham she'oiv the avodas kochavim bein sh'oiv kochavim bein she'yisrael. Those the utensils that serve it ein nasur not she'ishtamshu b'hen l'avodas kochavim. They're a level lower, that even goyim's dishes and accessories only become aser once it actually serves the avodas kochavim. It's actually used. So Tekrevis is the most chamer by everyone. The second it was dedicated, it's aser ba'na. Yid and Goyim. The Avodah Zarah itself, then it depends on Yid and Goy. And then there's Kalim, that both of them are more lenient until it's actually used. Now, if he makes a getchka, an idol for someone else, afal pishu loika, interestingly enough, even though he's going to get malchus, schore mutar. Why so? Why is he allowed to use the money that he received as payment for this getchka? Doctor. And he says, even if this was made for a guy, in which case, right when it's finished, he finishes making it, it's usher already. Maybe you say, okay, I understand that Yisrael, he's allowed to use the money because it doesn't become usher till later. So it's still semi-mutar bana. Mutar bana still. Even a guy that becomes usher right away, you're allowed to use the wage. Why? Because a guy, when does it become aser? Makeh bepatish, as we know from Shabbos, the final knock of the bang of the hammer. This last knock of a hammer, when he finishes, completes the job, that knock doesn't have the value of a pruta. And Mamela, this money doesn't represent the Avodas Kochavim yet. It represents this sculpture before it got the din of Avodah Zarah. Now, halakech grutois. This can happen. A guy collecting scraps, odds, and ends of metal, and so he buys a whole junkyard load, got junked out, whatever. He gets a whole truckload from Shmatis, and boom, all of a sudden he finds in his possession, or upon about to become his possession, he finds a getchka. Also, you're not going to. It's like im nosan mois v'loy mashach. If you gave money and you didn't pull it, if you did, even though we'll see in Dini Mechira that by a guy it's more stringent, you need both, not both, but one I don't recall right now which one is more chamor, which one is more is simpler to use for a guy. Let me check a second. Let me remind myself. Okay. Batsam by a goy, you're only kind of a meshicha. The giving of the money doesn't cut it. And b'meila, if you did, but over here we're going to be more lenient and say, you know what, even according to the day that that giving money to a guy works, but because he didn't do meshicha, we'll play on it. And therefore, if you only did one of the two sides, whether you only did meshicha and didn't give money, or you gave money and you didn't do meshicha, which is more lenient, either of them will be able to annul it, because even the meshicha that generally is kind of by a guy was meshicha betos. However, even though meshicha, the Rambam spells it out, generally is kind of by a guy, can make a so it's a mistake. However, if he did both of them, he has to bring it to Yam HaMelech, where the salt eats up and the acidic water it takes apart whatever metals there are. And now a similar case where an object of Avodas Kochavin can end up in a Yid's possession. Let's say a goy and a ger, Shiyosh Savian. He doesn't consider them brothers, because the Gersh and his guy continue to know them. But at the end of the day, their father passed away. Their father died. There's a goy and there's a Yid, the two sons. The Yid is allowed to say, you know, you take all the idols, give me the money. It's not considered like he's benefiting from the idols going to him, and therefore he's getting money. It's not like payment. He's not getting it. However, if it has already been split and they went into his rishus, at that point he's not allowed to switch it with his brother, because then he's getting money for it, and it already belonged to him. Zakta. So no, they received inheritance from their father. The guy, the ger can tell the guy, his brother, you take all the getchkes, the idols, and I'll take the money. Or you take the wine that's aser mitzad yain nesach, was served and as a libation to the guy, to the deities, the getchke. Vani Paris, and I'll take the fruit. However, once they became his aser, you're not going to switch it even back with the guy, because then it's as if he's paying you and you're deriving benefit. Now, what happens? You see beautiful beautiful sculptures of guy, and it doesn't necessarily resemble any specific Avodas Kochavin. Maybe it's time to beautify his house. Can design. He wants nice moldings. So the story goes like this. If it's Lanoi Mutarim Banav, it's Sur Shasam Avodas Kochavim Asurim. But if he beautified it and you see that this will fit in with a picture of Avodas Kochavim, was meant to beautify some sort of idol, a room with an idol. So Aser, Ketzad, for example, Kol Asur on Imsoim Bakfarim. And this Poiskim, the nice Kelim Shulchan Aruch, say it depends pasht on the Metzias. But we know that in the little Shtetlach, they're more meditative and they're more devout to their religion. And B'meila, in the Kfarim, in these little villages, Asurim Bana, if you find Suras over there, because they're pashtas made for the Gatchkes. However, these are people that are doing business in Zegleibnisht, right? They're busy yadim themselves. So, if they're found not in the Medina, they placed them at the entrance. So here, there's place to believe that they're placed kivyachol, they resemble guarding over, which is a spiritual power, and they believe that that's Avodas Kochavim. So if it's and in the hand of this gestalt, this form, there's tzuras makel, there's a stick, a tzipor, a bird, the kader, or a ball, or a saif, a ballistic ball, a saif, or a sword, or a torah, a tabas, something like a ring or the like, because it's guarding over, so to speak, and even though it's just a suffix, like is also. However, if it's not that type, it's found elsewhere in the Medina and it doesn't have any resemblance to something guarding or some spiritual power, some superstition of the sort. So Hareu b'cheskas l'noi b'pashtas is for beauty, and one is allowed to use it. If you find images of getchkes and they're found in the markets, just laying around, or between a junkyard. Harel mutarim, it is mutar. Vein tzarich loimer shivrei tzalmeim. and how much more so if it's broken. Because if a guy threw it out, there are those that apply this to any museum. That if a guy gave it to a museum, you could hang it out to dry. But kids, he doesn't really believe this is serious stuff. It's for pictures. Masha Enkein, if you find, so that's if you find it between the complete Avodah Zarah, but it's found between scraps and metal. Or he says, how much more so if it's a broken one. It seems like it's broken. However, if you find one full limb, that there were people that served it or they wanted to be mechaber it in it, so whatever, or mazel, or ragla, or ever mebra mushlach. You know for sure that this, you don't know that they broke the whole Avodah Zarah. This could be a part of an Avodah Zarah that is definitely served, and therefore the Isser is Vadai, and not necessarily was the general Avodah Zarah broken. Harei Surah maintains this, that you know that they annulled it from being Avodah Zarah. When you find a full one broken in the garbage, so you understand they stop believing in it. Halacha Ches. Hamoitzi. Now we're going to talk about, you see tzuras of Avodah Zarah, certain ones, but they're on kalim that are meant for personal use, not for idols. They had different. It's very interesting. It's fascinating. They had their own type of kalim that they would serve with. I'm saying they were kalim like that for the base of English there were specific types of kalim, pans, etc., mizrakos without a bottom. So there were certain kalim. Then there's for personal usage, regular people's of kalim. But on them it says Hamoitze halacha ches. Hamoitze kalim aleim tzuras chama. You see the shape of a sun, ulabana and a moon, udraka and a dragon-like animal. If it was on silver, gold, or linen clothing, or they're on nose band, nose ring, or on rings, because a person wanted to have a pocket-sized getchke to come with him, so he has on his cup so he could look at it before he eats. It's not just for beauty. Even though it's that type of Baal Shar Kalim, however, if it's time for other Kalim, no one's going to stop and bow down to his fork. So if he has it on a fork, or he has it on any other kalim, his nail clipper, so it doesn't consist of a avodah. Now, it's time for beauty, even though it resembles avodah. How much more so if it's any random surah, beautiful shapes and images, but it's not a place that the Mashal Moyav has this Avodah Zarah. It's just a picture of a man. So that sculpture, people appreciate it. It was culture, and even though we're not allowed to make Psal and Lanoi, but it's going to be mutter. Psal and Lanoi, it's also as all as we discussed already, all dimensions. We brought the Rama. Anyways, halacha tes. Avodas Kochavin shamshav. Once they assume the title and the status of Avodah Zarah, they aser b'kol shehein. That means even the most minute amount. What does that mean in terms of kalim? It's not like here we'll have chazal a little bit of year today, but it's not like over there treif is mixed into a pot. How do you have over here that it asers b'kol shehein? So, Ketzad. How so? What happens? You have one surah that you know was served. Or for example, let's take an example. A lot of people go to Russia and they have babashkis there. So let's say there are those that taka serve it. It's representative of some old getchka. And then there's millions and millions of them that are made for all the American tourists that go over there and invest money in this little kachka thing. Okay? And all you know that this one that was served from this little shtetl, from the devout ancient Russian getchka lovers, mixed into the souvenir shop, and there's thousands of them. You can't say the ratio is so big that it's bottle, it has no value. Nope, it's iser mashu afilu achas b'kamal alofim in many thousands. Yoel chakol yam melch, you have to take all those babishkis shlita and burn them. V'chein nesarv koisel v'etz chav b'kama koises, a cup of avodah zarah in many cups, and let's say per punkt chipped off the image that you had from Avodah Zarah, chipped off the top, and you're not sure. It looks now similar to all these cups, but that cup was definitely made for Avodah Zarah. we were matter in a case that it was tam lanoy and it wasn't the tzura. Here's the tzura. V'chein shad ha'tzuz and himself kol akel chaskasam. Oh, sorry. Zar kois shel avodas kochavim bekama koises in thousands and thousands of cups. Oy chatichas basar zar bekama chatichas. That generally chatichas basar, so yavish b'yavish, min ha'toyres chad b'trei batel. I want to say min b'shein and minoy and b'davar lach, and it's b'shishim, good. Here, because the avodah zara doesn't go lefi tam, doesn't go lefi shein, goes forever. So yelch hakol yamamel, all needs to disintegrate. V'chein ar lavov, this hide that has a hole around the heart that we described. Zara v'kama oiros. Hakol aser b'ano, it's all aser. Avar machar avodas kochavim, if he went and sold his avodas kochavim ma'echad m'shashal to grevish law, harei adamim asurim b'ano. The money that you got for it, you're deriving benefit from. And it's also b'ano. V'oyisrim b'kol shem, and that money asers b'kol shem, it swaps. Kavodas kochavim, imagine that. And that nickel, if that falls into hundreds of nickels, all has to go to Yam HaMelech. Because it says, Vayizachenim kamayu, it will be written off just like it. That means like the Avodah Zarah itself. Kol mashim shata, maybe, me'avodas kochavim, anything that comes to you in any benefit that you receive through the Avodas kochavim, or mikol masham shavat tikravta, harei kamayu, it has the same thing as it itself, that's feika asa. To the extent it's called afron nikbar. That means even its ashes have to be buried. You can't even derive any benefit. Let's say they make from Rabbi Olta makes ink from charcoal, from the para, the smoke that comes up from the. Even that you can't use. You think 1 second a burning takes out all the yisaid, for yisaid, it goes back to being nothing. Doesn't help. Efra also bano, it's called Afron Nikbar. A coal that obviously it's a piece of wood that was from Avodas kochavim, and now they burnt it and turned it into coal. And this is easy to light afterwards and maintains heat, doesn't have smoke, as all those that buy coals know. But so it's also usher that coal is usher, even though it's not really lachil, it's not. However, interestingly enough, shalheves aim by mamish, the flame you're allowed to light a candle from the flame of Avodah Zarah. There's no substance. Now, Safek Avodas kochavim is also, as we said till now. However, Specs Feika Mutter, if it's a double Safek, one on the other, not a few questions, one question on the other one, as we'll see in a second, in that case it becomes Mutter. For example, Keita. Koisel Avodas kochavim shenafal baitam alei koises. One cup fell into a whole storage house of cups. We said the din is all need to be Yam HaMelechized. Now, they're all awesome. We said it and anything, all its accessories, asa b'kolshen. However, what happens if from that storage now one cup came and mixed into other cups? Now, every cup from the second mixture that you pick up, you have another suffix. It fell into at least 2 cups. Every cup from this second mixture you pick up, you say, 1 second. If it was Avodas kochavim, Ken Gerzain, it's Bechlal not here, and it's the cup that fell into the second mixture is from the majority. And Mintim Taleimar, it is here. Maybe this is not the cup that I'm using right now. And therefore, you have a double suffix on every cup you pick up. Now, tabas al avodas kochavim, a ring. Shenesarva b'meya tabais in 100 rings. V'naflu shtayim liyam hagadol. This is a new svara called toilet. There was an afila chashuva of 2 into yama hagadol, even if they didn't disintegrate. Hutru kulam, all the rest of the thousands became mutter. You're not allowed to do that lechatchila, mevatla neser lechatchila. But if fell out, someone took from there and dropped in Yam HaGadol, Hutru Kul, they have all become mutter. Why? Because we say the svara called toilet. We say, Oisat Tabas B'chal Shtayim. The pashtas, this ring, that was Aser, that's the one that fell. And Mamela, all the rest are Begeder Safik Yatza, and they are mutter. Now, or B'chal, the svara of toilet works. You say that's the one it was. Now let's say none of them fell in Yam HaGadol. They just split. Now you're allowed to. You have another simuchin called toilin, as we started explaining, and you say the following: if these 40 fell into other tabois, kulam mutar. Shani aimer ois tabas asura baroivi. The tabas that was usher was with the lechatchil the majority, and nafal shish tabois the tabois acheres. However, if the 60 fell into other ones, asuras, because we were relying that they were in the right. Now we're moving on in Sifyud. Aleph to the Asherah tree. The Asherah tree was a tree that was one of two forms. Either it was a tree that they would serve itself, serve the tree, bow down to the tree, or it was just as a landmark, as a marking. They would want everybody to know this is where you can find that. But Zara was Tachas Kolei Tzaranan. They would put it over there under that tree. Bein choice and Evedis, whether this was the type of asher that it itself was served. Bein choice or it's just providing shade for those that come, and it's a landmark. This is where it is. Also, Leishav itself, Kamasa one is not allowed to sit under its shade and enjoy from it. However, Omuta Leishav itself Hasorigim, you're not allowed to derive benefit from the tree trunk and the body of the tree. However, the branches, olim and the leaves, shallah, is mutter. However, still, if you have a different way to go, don't even go under it. However, if there's no other way, you need to go under it. You shouldn't, even though it's mixtures of little of the tree, it's primarily the branches and the leaves are providing the shade, or from the heat of the sun, or from rain. You should still run. Now, we're going to talk about a nest of birds that are perched on this tree, and they're dependent on the tree. Little chicks that they settled and they started nesting on that tree. The second they reach the point that they don't need their mother, at which case they don't really need to be here. They don't not dependent on the tree mutar. You could take those birds, take them home, shech them, eat them. They're not considered like one of the growth of the tree. But if it's eggs, that obviously the mother still needs to sit on them, and or it's chicks, but they're still dependent on the mother bringing them food. Asurin, why the Asherah tree is like a basis and is a real factor in their life, and b'meila it's considered a continuation, an extension to the basis, the tree itself, and it's also why you're allowed to use the nest itself, because the bird brings the wood from elsewhere. So, for example, if a person wants to make a starter for a fire, and he needs little twigs, he's allowed to take a nest off a shade tree that has a whole bunch of twigs, because you could rely on the fact that the twigs have not come from here. However, if the chicks are dependent on the tree and still tzrichim le'iman, and therefore they're at the grace of the tree, so they're high away from predators. So they are considered, the tree is considered like a basis to them, and they're extension of a way. If a person did go ahead and take off wood from this tree, he's a tanner, and he heated an oven with this wood, yutzan. Before you enjoy, you have to first cool off the whole oven, so you didn't derive any benefit from the heat that this firewood brought. And then then come with kashara wood and heat it up. Now the taste doesn't transfer. That's not the part of the taste. It's just the heat that you're deriving benefit from, and that you have to take away before you start using the oven. This chacham went and didn't know. He bought firewood, and they bought it from somebody. All of a sudden he discovers this was from a Asherah tree. So at that point, he ready. The bread is baked. You're not allowed to enjoy benefit from this. You're not allowed to eat it. You're not allowed to enjoy it. You're not allowed to sell it. And it's however, if this loaf mixed into other loaves, then you sell everything, and you take the amount of one loaf and you throw it into Yamamel, so you know that you're not enjoying from the fact that you ever owned this loaf. And then all the rest are mutter to use that money. Allah yudalad notam and a karka, which is like a little tool that they would use when they would weave to straighten out the strings if it would get knotted. Another one, like a little, let's say it's like a little pick. Ba'orag ba'is a beged, and he wove a beged, and he took this twig off the. This is from this karka, from the ashera tree. Also, bano, the beged is also bano. Nisara b'gad macherim. However, if this bag, why? Because it's gained from avodah zara. However, if this shirt mixed into 100 different shirts, at that point, so you can take the amount of money one beged cost and bring it to Yam Melech. Or shakal b'gadim are going to be mutarim. Now, umutar lita tachtel yirakos. Again, the reason these two are mutar is because. One second. Okay, both of these is because the avodah zara doesn't exist within the bread. By the time you're eating the bread, the wood is already burnt out, and by the time you're using the beged, even though this karka still exists, but you can't notice its shevach in this beged. However, by the koisis, when you know it's a full-fledged avodah zara that's mixed into cups, you can't just say, okay, take the money to Yam Melech and you're not benefiting from it because you have avodah zara here mixed in a speaker. Awesome. Okay. Mutar lita tachta yirakas beimi ma'isacham beimi ma'isachsham. A very interesting concept in Allah called zev zegurmin. When you have two contributing factors to any given thing, and one of them is aser, being that he's not a standalone. If he was on his own, he wouldn't be able to produce this. Therefore, it is mutar. So, for example, you're allowed to plant a patch of vegetables under this ashera tree. Why? It's taka growing from the shade of the ashera tree, but together with that, it's growing from the ground. That's not aser, and it's zev is a garmim. Yeah. Zok the baby ma'isacham baby ma'isachsham shetzich letzel baby ma'isachsham b'nei shetzela ashera shu aser im akarka ein naseres garmin liyirakas el tzmayach. It's two things that are causing these yirakas, these vegetables to grow. And in any scenario, shedavar aser vidav motor garmin loy, they cause it harei motor b'chol makom leficha for the same reason. Sadash zibla bezebel v'avodas Kochavin. We know in India they worship the cows. They say also Mitzrayim they worship the sheep. So this big behemoth, they're all busy worshiping it, and with all getlicha powers, that those lost change. Okay, so sadash ziblo bezevel v'etz Kochavin, and now this is providing a fertilizer for the field. Mutar lizroya, so you're still going to be allowed to plant in that field, even though it got benefited from this behemoth avodah zara. Why? Because it's also the ground. That's zev is a garment. Or parash apitlam b'kashin avodas Kochavim tiachel. Same way, same deal. Not a behemoth that was tikrovis, was prepared as a tikrovis for avodah zara. That we said that's right away also. We're talking about a behemoth that they used corn to stuff it, and this corn was dedicated, was avodas Kochavim, belonged to avodas Kochavim. But now at this point, when it's in the behemoth, the meat that you're going to eat if you shecht it is combined. It's zev as a garment. Whether it's meat, wine, or fruit, he prepared it. It has not yet become even if you brought it into the home or the room of avodas Kochavim until you actually place it before it. Once they placed it before it, it becomes tikrovis. Once you took it out, it still doesn't help. You don't say, oh, but I want it for something else. Will continue being aser. Now what happens? You don't know. So if you find it inside, the pasha says, afilu mayim umelach. This was planned to be. This was served to avodas Kochavim and aser b'nam. If a person eats from it, he derives benefit and he gets malchus. Now, what happens if you find, even inside, that you find things that are clearly derogatory? and therefore it wasn't served before it in a way that would bring honor. For example, a mitzvah ksus, clothing, v'kelim, and vessels, umois and money, sitting on the head. If it's in an embarrassing way, yeah, you have sometimes you put a cup there, it looks nice. Maybe the person was in the middle of serving it and he placed it as an honor. This is what the kachkarai that they do. But so then it's a problem. However, if it's in a derogatory way, derech bizayin, for example, it's like a kova tembel, right? It's the other way around. This bowl is on his head. In that case, then it is not mutar. It is not also. I mean, sorry. So imsal derech kavod keita, for example, mata kis toli b'tzavare. If you found we were talking about a pocketbook or a big pouch hanging from its neck, or a garb that's folded beautifully set on his head, kli kafu al roisha, or the kli is set beautifully on his head in a way that fits. Sorry. And all this is mutter. You're allowed to enjoy it, even if it looks nice. At the end of the day, you don't. It's not storage space, and if you folded your beged on it, it's mutter. But no. However, matzah b'roishay davar shekayetzu b'karav l'gav mizbeach, something that they would bring on the mizbeach. For example, soyless, prepared wine, and the like. When do we say that it's able to be mutter? When it's outside of the place where they serve the avodas chacham. Even say b'fnim bein derech kav bein derech bizayin bein derech roilim mizbeach bein davar she'ein roilim mizbeach. If it's inside the place of the getchke, whether it is roy or isn't roy lemizbeach, whether it's there covered, not there covered, colonnades of him asur, it is all prohibited. Afilu ma'im u'melech, even salt and water. They have a stringency, being that there people go to the bathroom. Obviously, it wasn't a closed area if people want to survive. So B'meila was outdoor, even outdoor. It's asur. So calling in say ma'im bein b'fnim bein b'chutz asur ma'anav. V'chein ba'avnei markulis with the stones, evan and there's imay. If it's seen together, you take a picture of that together. Asur b'ano. Halacha yud zayin. Avodas Kochavin shoyel merchatz agina. They're trying to attract the crowd, okay, and therefore they made something for people for leisure, but it belongs. The proceedings are going to Avodas Kochavin. So merchatz yes Avodas Kochavin muter lerchatz b'am neishinasis sham lenoi. It's just made for beauty. Of this, not meant that they're servicing. However. Sorry, I skipped ahead. So, if you're not giving it, you're not paying for it, and they're not benefiting, you're allowed to. Or you're not allowed to enjoy either as a favor, and maybe you'll owe them, or by giving them, paying for it. If it belongs to the Avodas Kochavin in partnership with another person, privately owned, even if they also ultimately will receive some sort of benefit, you're allowed to use it. Providing that you're not giving money that will be split half of it to them. If there are goyim in a bathhouse, even if there is a getchke there, it's made for beauty, not to serve, because this is embarrassing, degrading to put avodah zara in a bathhouse. When they respect it like a deity. For example, going to if it's by a toilet bowl where everyone's relieving themselves. However, if this is the way it's served, like pa'or, then one is not allowed to go. Now, halacha yotes, the final halacha for today. Sakin, and it's interesting to preface, and important to preface, that our assumption is that a sakin, a knife, once it's like a car that you take out of the shop, you take it out of the lot. Once it leaves the lot and it's privately owned, the value goes down half, because it's already secondhand at that point. Once you took it out of the lot, that's a good example. Once it's shechted, can't plow anymore, can't whatever workforce you were using for it to schlep, and therefore we assume shechting is considered a kilkul. It's taking down from the usage of the behema, and therefore, even if the sakin belongs to Avodas Kochavin and you shechted with it, it's not considered driving benefit. And however, behema, which means it's about to die. If you don't shecht it now, it won't be fit for consumption, and then you don't have anything else you could have done with it. It's mamish on the way out, it's on its deathbed. So Hareza Asura. Why Mneshu Metaken? In that case, the Shchita is Metaken, it's saving you. Hareza Tikun Manas Misham Shev Avodas Kochavim. You're enjoying from the Misham Shev Avodas Kochavim, from the accessories of Avodas Kochavim. Chen also Lachta Babasar. You're not allowed to cut flesh. Mneshu Metaken. This is preparing it in a positive way. If you're cutting it in a way, in a derogatory way, or in a way that you're ruining, in that case, it is mutar ba. Now, and we have completed Perek Zayin of Avodas Kochavim, where we are going through together with the Rambam so many wonderful aspects of Torah, becoming one with Dvar Hashem. Yishakayach for being part of our Chabura. Looking forward to continue later today with Perek Ches of Hilchis Avodas Kochavim, Shamsha, Chukas Avodas Kochavim, all the rituals, and knowing these halachas. Atzlacha Rabba, Gute Nacht.